Hi, everybody in the world. It's Sierra back at it again. Can't talk tonight. With another Ehlers-Danlos syndrome video. I figured I'd make another video, seeing as May is Ehlers-Danlos Syndrome Awareness Month, and I am all about spreading awareness. And I realized that with my last video that I made about a year ago, these YouTube videos are a great way to spread awareness. I engaged in a lot of great conversation with people who didn't know my story, with people who did know my story, with people who were going through similar things or going through the same thing. It was just a great way to engage in conversation and to make it more of like an open thing to talk about. So I'm just gonna start off with, I guess, where my Ehlers-Danlos syndrome story is at now. If you want to watch my other video, about a year ago, it's about my story up until that point, and how things will get better. You can go to YouTube, you can go to my Facebook, all that good stuff. So I went to Cuba about a week. I went to Cuba last week. I was in Cuba last week. And before I went to Cuba, one of the things that my mom said was that I had to see my primary care physician and just get checked out, get a physical, everything good before I go. Everything was good. That led into me seeing a geneticist with my genetic condition, since Ehlers-Danlos syndrome is a genetic condition. Okay, let me just give you the basic of Ehlers-Danlos syndrome for anyone that's new. Ehlers-Danlos syndrome is a genetic condition caused by faulty collagen in the body, and collagen is what keeps your bones together, keeps your joints together, your tissue. It is the glue that holds your body together. In Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, the collagen is faulty and it causes easy bruising, easy scarring, hypermobility issues. Some people deal with chronic dislocations, and there's different types, and with each type comes different symptoms, and I'll kind of get into more of that later. But that's just kind of the basic rundown. So, but with my condition, I should see a geneticist once a year, and I hadn't seen a geneticist in like 2 years, which wasn't good. So seeing my primary care physician before Cuba put it in my head that I need to see a geneticist, and it's hard to see an adult geneticist because the genetics medical field is very underpopulated by doctors, I guess is the word. So it's hard to come by a geneticist to begin with. I got lucky, and my pediatric geneticist at Nemours has agreed to see me until I'm like 21 or 23 or something. So that's cool. So I went in and saw her, and we talked, and pretty much long story short, she thinks I have I don't think she came right out and said, like, I think you have it, but just the way that she was talking and the test that she ordered, it's kind of like she came right out and said that she thinks I have a different type of Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. So Ehlers-Danlos syndrome has like 6 or 7 types. I was diagnosed with the classical Ehlers-Danlos syndrome type to begin with, and then the hypermobility type, which is the main type. And each type pretty much has the hypermobility, the easy scarring, the easy bruising, but each type brings on different symptoms. And because genetic testing is an option, but it's not like economically feasible for a lot of people. It can be hard to pinpoint exactly what type you have, so you just kind of have to go off a clinical diagnosis. But when I went in and saw her and went through my symptoms and all of that good stuff, I mentioned in my last video a year and a half ago that my blood vessels are popping, and when I tell people that, they're kind of just like, what? Your blood vessels are popping? What? So sometimes when you like get sick and you throw up, or if you strain, or if you pick something up heavy, you might get like some like little red dots or bruising or little bruises or something on your face, on your legs, whatever, that usually go away within a few days. About a year and a half ago, my first semester of college, I got these little red dots all over my legs that didn't go away, that haven't gone away, that have spread. I have them on my legs, on my arms, on my chest, sometimes every now and then on my stomach, on my back. But those are popped blood vessels, arteries that have ruptured. What was I gonna say? So they don't hurt, it doesn't hurt, but it obviously shows that there's something happening underneath the skin and there's a problem going on inside. But I was just told that that was part of your EDS and just live with it and you'll be fine. I also have very translucent veins, which I thought was pretty normal. It turns out I guess I was wrong. I have translucent veins pretty much all over my body, especially on my legs, on my chest, on my arms, like where your big like veins are. And I guess that's not normal, especially paired with the blood vessel ruptures. And then to top that off, I have poor blood circulation. I have had poor blood circulation since I can remember. I mentioned that I went to Cuba last week, and if you know me and if you've looked at some of the pictures of Cuba that were taken, look at my legs in those pictures and compare them to other girls' legs in those pictures. My legs are freaking humongous, and you can see dimples and pockets and rivets throughout them. Like, it's kind of disgusting, to be honest. That's normal to me, so I don't see it, but like my mom has pointed it out to me, like that's a problem. And it just further shows the blood circulation and poor blood flow in my legs especially. So with all of those symptoms said, I told the geneticist that, and she looked at me and was like, okay, so your arteries are translucent, you have broken blood vessels, I think you have there's a vascular type of EDS. Let's do an echocardiogram. I'll get into more of that. But vascular type of EDS, I have a packet, and I'll just kind of read you some of this. The joint laxity is predominantly in small joints, which makes sense because with Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, a lot of people, which makes sense for me, a lot of people experience chronic dislocations. And so they're saying that most of my hypermobility is in my fingers and my small joints and my toes and whatnot, which my body is more hypermobile than somebody without EDS. But compared to somebody with EDS, it makes sense that I haven't dislocated like a large joint, like I haven't like reached up and dislocated my shoulder, because most of my hypermobility is in my small joints. And I hope that makes sense. It makes sense to me. The vascular type also usually manifests thin, translucent skin, fragility of skin and soft tissue, my blood vessel ruptures, and atrophic scarring. Predisposition to spontaneous rupture of hollow organs, primarily arteries, which I experience, intestines, and uterus, which makes it difficult to have children. The geneticist talked to me about what will need to happen if I want to have children, which I do want to have children, but I'm not planning to have children right now. But it can cause your intestines and your uterus to rupture, which can lead to a whole host of other issues. So organ rupture is a thing in vascular EDS. That's kind of scary. Non-specific venous and hematologic abnormalities, including varicose veins, hemorrhoids, easy bruising, and bleeding, are not suggestive. Are more symptoms. So this says dysfunction and or deficiency of type 3 collagen caused by pathogenic variants in COL3A1 is responsible for all cases of vascular EDS. So like I think I said in this video, I don't know, it may have been in one that I deleted, but Ehlers-Danlos syndrome is a genetic condition, and they can do genetic testing for certain types. They don't know the gene for like hypermobility type, but for vascular Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, they know that there's variations in the type 3 collagen and the gene COL3A1. So I can do the genetic testing to see if that what is messed up, and if I do have vascular Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, or if it's just my body, if it's just hypermobility type, whatever. So it says the diagnosis of vascular EDS is based on clinical findings and usually confirmed by molecular genetic testing. So we have arterial rupture, intestinal rupture, uterus rupture, joint laxity, especially in the small organs, fragility of skin and soft tissue, all of that good stuff. So in my eyes, I'm thinking I have vascular EDS. It just makes more sense for me at where I'm at in the stages of my life right now. Like I said, if you go through some of my pictures, especially on Facebook, you can kind of see what I'm talking about. Look at my legs, you can see what I'm talking about. But a big thing with the vascular EDS, because it affects your blood vessels, she said that most patients have what they call aortic root dilation, which affects your aorta, which brings the blood to your heart, and the root, the part that connects your aorta to your heart, can dilate, can enlarge, and can cause aneurysms, which can be fatal. I asked her what symptoms I should be expecting if I experience this, and she said most patients experience no symptoms. They just come into the hospital with an aneurysm and then they die. So that can be fatal. That's a little scary. I have an echo on Tuesday to look at my heart and just see where that's at with that. But that is the update with my Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. I know this video has been all over the place and has been kind of everywhere and nowhere and here and there, but I hope that this can bring some sort of awareness of genetic conditions, of Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, of vascular Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, of invisible illnesses. People battle invisible illnesses all the time. That person that parked in the handicap spot at the restaurant that you were at, and they got out of the car and you said, or you thought to yourself, they're not handicapped, why are they using that spot? You don't know what that person is going through. A lot of these things are these people's realities. And it's hard to think that somebody could be battling something that you can't see, but it goes on for a lot of people behind closed doors that you don't realize. So I guess what I'm trying to get at is, there's a quote that goes, I can't remember who says it, but it says, "Be kind, for everyone is fighting their own battle." A lot of these things, Ehlers-Danlos syndrome included, is an invisible battle. You have no idea what that person is going through in their medical, personal lives. And this is reality. So kind of just like think before you speak, think before you think, and be open to learning new things. I hope that this video has raised awareness for vascular type. I know it's kind of all over the place because I'm still learning about this type, but we can start conversation. You can teach me, you can, I hope this just kind of starts conversation and makes Ehlers-Danlos syndrome less rare and more aware, because Ehlers-Danlos syndrome is a rare disease, but I believe that more people have it than we realize. I think it's more of a thing than people realize. So that's where I'm at in my journey from when I made my last video. And I make this, like I said, during Ehlers-Danlos Awareness Month, and I just kind of want to just tell you to keep on trucking. One of my favorite Bible verses is Romans 8:31, which in it states, "If God is for us, then who can be against us?" And as I go into my echo on Tuesday, as I continue this invisible battle, as I continue to be there for people who are struggling with the same thing, I have to remember that if God is for me, then why do I need to let this crush me? If God is for me, then this is not against me. This is for me. This is a part of my plan. If God is for me, which I believe wholeheartedly that He is, this is a part of my plan. God will lead me to where I need to be. And sometimes it's hard for us to understand why the hard things are a part of God's plan for us. But God has a reason. God has a reason. God has a purpose. And the hard things lead us to His greater purpose. The hard things make the good times. The hard times make the good times better. So, with all of that said, if God is for us, then who can be against us? If God is for me, Ehlers-Danlos syndrome will not be against me. It will not defeat me. It will be a part of God's plan for me, and I will get through it. So if you're struggling, if you need some sort of encouragement, I recommend Romans 8:31. If God is for us, who can be against us? And be kind, for everyone is fighting everyone is fighting their own battle. And happy Ehlers-Danlos Awareness Month. I hope that this raised some sort of awareness. And again, I apologize if this was all over the place. And I hope that you watch my other video. All right, bye.